Welcome to the Talent Takeover,
Unfiltered.
Make sure you listen to the very end to get the Broke to Boss tip of the day from today. It's from Hudson Brock. Thank you so much. So, welcome Hudson to our podcast.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Nice. Okay, so Hudson Brock have known each other, and if you are, YouTube subscribers of the Millionaire Recruiter, thank you very much because you have seen Hudson on a few episodes. He's been great. He is a feller.
I am a feller from Tennessee.
Hey there, feller. Hey there, feller.
Thank you.
And a fellow recruiter.
And you are a tech recruiter. Thank you very much. And you have just started your own agency. Is that right?
I have, yep. 1 year on March 31st. So
Congratulations.
it's literally like a baby learning to walk. That's what it feels like. I'm like watching it.
You're watching. Speaking of, you also have a baby, right? Who's still on your shirt
Baby,
today?
you can see this. This was on the way. So dropped them off to come here. Got coffee. Just kicked all
That
of
just makes it more relatable in 2022.
It does. Like, we got two moms who were like, "Thank you, Dad, for coming with a messy shirt."
Well, we're like over here talking about two moms, high-waisted jeans, like thank you, and then it's like that's acceptable in the world.
I
It is now.
appreciate that.
All right, so talk to us about, first of all, what is the name of your agency?
Yes, so I'll hire. I wanted to have something that would inspire that question. So I'm glad you're asking. Allo is the root word for other or different.
Okay.
And so there's a word allocentric, which is the opposite of egocentric.
Get smart on me.
Egocentric means self-centered. Allocentric means other-centered. And to me, that's the heart of good hiring, is being able to actually be other-centered, understand the pain points of the candidate and the hiring manager. Recruiters kind of sit in that space.
Oh,
how'd you come up with that?
Nice.
Running and listening to a podcast. I think it was called Starting Greatness. I don't really remember.
Okay.
And I heard that word and I was like, you're going through company names. Like literally what URL is available. How can I get a .com?
Yeah.
And that was available. So I was like, sweet, let's run it.
Did you have to Google what it meant?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel better now because I'm like, allocentric. Okay.
I did not come up with that. Yeah, that's a podcast.
Oh, I love it. And you have been in business for how long?
A year and a week. Yeah.
Ooh, cheers to you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Nice. So what we're here to talk about, and I mean, I've been on podcasts just as you have as well, and they always go, so what could you have done differently?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to hear that shit. We want to hear the stuff that actually, like, how hard is it? Because as you see, as everyone's like, oh, I'm a great recruiter. I'm going to start a recruiting agency.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy.
Mm.
Well, and I want to just add too, I think out of all of the jobs, we all recruit for a lot of roles. Nobody goes out and is like, I'm going to start my own engineering firm. It's like people go, they think recruiting is so easy, and that goes back to what we were talking about. People don't know how hard it is that they think, oh, I could just go out and start my own thing. And then they're like, oh, shit, that's not what I thought it was. Yeah. So we want to hear that. Like, what are the things that you anticipated and it was the opposite, or whether things you didn't anticipate and it was the opposite? Just give us the real shit, real spit.
I like it. Okay. So I was lucky because I was in a network marriage group that you've heard of that was intended to help incubate and accelerate recruiters. So we had this theory that a lot of the best recruiters wanted to be independent, either at a boutique agency or to start their own thing. So we're like, how do we empower people to do that? Take away all the stuff recruiters don't like doing. Invoicing, accounting, admin.
Yeah.
We want to be talking to people. Let's let people do that more. And so that allowed me to be very entrepreneurial for about 3.5 years before really starting my own thing. So I was commission only, contractor, trying to do full cycle almost from day one. So I had those reps of like the ups and downs, like big commission,
highs, lows, roller coaster.
Big commission week, and then like nothing for a month. And that just trained the I think grit to be like, I'm going to stay in the game no matter what. That's probably the biggest thing that I see other people miss. It's just they have the win and then learning to be consistent. Not always in your billing, but up here. And just controlling what you can control.
Syndrome?
Yes. Did you come up with that?
I mean, I feel like I did, but I don't know.
Fat cat syndrome.
It's called fat cat syndrome.
It's really a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for me, I think I had like a lot of the DNA coming in, but then it's learning all the business stuff. There still isn't, like we've talked about it, and I think I had some good mentors that kind of helped people that were ahead of me coach me through it. But even so, there's no like playbook just to look at. Here are the 10 steps just to start it. So that's the thing that I've been like trying to put together to give to other people because I haven't found it out there yet. I
Yeah.
haven't seen any resource that tells you how to start something.
That's really hard because I know I get asked that a lot as well. So as I put out like the Millionaire Recruiter Boot Camp, it's like, we can have all the training in the world, but no one wants to legally put their shit out there because it is a legal thing, like legal matter. Like, where did I get my fee agreement from? Well, I might have massaged it from something else that I put together, and it's not really great to me. Where did you get your fee agreement from?
Friends. I asked.
Yeah.
And they said, "Hey, check this out."
But
I'll share it with you.
no lawyers, right?
Never had a lawyer. I'll
Yeah.
put it together.
So that actually just gave me chills. I had never used a
Should I
lawyer.
not say that?
No. That's good. I've been in business now for 14 years. I have never used a lawyer until, I'm not joking, like 6 months ago. And now it's like I got the lawyer. I'm like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this?
Yeah.
Fuck lawyers.
Wait,
Yeah.
so should I have a lawyer on speed?
Yeah.
Yes,
well-
I'm getting too different.
I have different.
Expensive as shit.
Yeah.
Okay, whether I think we should have them or not, that doesn't change the fact they're expensive. I mean, that is what it is. But I would say, so whenever I came to work with Brianna, I was really surprised at our contracts. Like, I feel like your contracts, especially in any kind of embedded, have to be really dialed in because of co-employment situations, and then you'll have the craziest shit happen. Like, we'll tell you offline, but we've had some crazy shit happen in the last few months where it's like, thank God we had certain things covered contractually after it was like, hey, I'm trying to bullshit my way through this, but I always joke with her. I'm like, they didn't cover this when I went to Harvard Law. Like, I don't fucking know. I'm like Googling and I'm getting on the phone with other companies' attorneys and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to Google everything they say, but.
Which was your broke to boss tip.
Yeah.
Google it.
Google it, motherfucker. Yes. And so I was Googling it before I was asking. But yeah, we had to get our contracts really dialed in. And now I feel like the most recent situation, thank God.
I will say, but I also will say that I learned a lot being my own lawyer because I feel like, I don't know, I was made to be a TV lawyer for many years now.
I can see it.
I don't want to be a real lawyer because school, that's too much.
I can see it.
Yeah, but TV lawyer, I'm on that.
The Millionaire judge.
But I will say there's a lot of things that if you can handle that conversation, it takes you higher. So it's like, the more uncomfortable you make yourself, the better off you are.
I would agree. I just think when it comes to contracts, that's where you need legal. And then I would say otherwise, like we have the uncomfortable conversations all the time. But if you have an MSA and an SOW that an attorney has reviewed, then you're good.
So my thing too has been with some companies, I'm just kind of flipping it. Been like, oh, you have lawyers. Why don't you put together what you think makes sense based on these 3 basic terms that we've agreed on, and then I'll review it. And most of the time, I can read a contract.
Yeah,
It's going to be good.
Right, yeah.
I don't need a lawyer for that.
Well, yeah. So a lot of our clients will redline it too, and they'll send it back to me,
Yeah.
designated attorney. I'm like, I'll accept these red lines, but it's nothing outrageous. The one the conversion fee is the only one that we ever say no to. They always try to get around converting one of our people.
Oh, for our PO model.
Well, just
We
in
talked
general,
about
though.
that.
Yeah, we have talked about that. So it's like you spend all your blood, sweat, and tears training someone to be this amazing superstar. You don't want your clients or anyone involved to take your people. Now, at the same time, you don't want your employees to feel like, how dare you, not let me go to a certain person if I'm happy. So, there's always kind of wiggle room, and I think that just recruiting in general, there's wiggle room. There's the fact, and there's what goes behind the scenes. But yeah, you want to make sure that you're protected, and then it's like if they're going to take your blood, sweat, and tears, they pay for it, right? And they always will if they know what's right. Because to find a really good recruiter, whether it's Renaissance or Tech, they know what's going on. By the way, Renaissance.
Why is Renaissance?
Yeah, thank you. Renaissance is because there's Tech, which is the cool shit, and then we got the non-Tech. We decided it's Renaissance.
I can't handle the non-tech.
It's insulting.
Well, it is. It's like we got tech recruiters, and then y'all. There's y'all.
Wait, slow down. Where are you from?
I'm from
You
Texas.
said y'all. What part of Texas?
So I'm originally from Odessa, and I live in Dallas right now.
Nice. Have you picked up y'all yet? It's
Yeah,
our greatest invention.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the best. So efficient.
I feel like everyone says
So
y'all,
efficient,
people that I don't even, Becca says y'all, people that are not even from Texas.
Well, there's a while on tech where I would say this. I would say y'all. I'm like, yeah, I heard y'all have a cool product. What'd you say? I was like, all right, let me educate you.
Yeah, I mean, it's in
Cisco
the
native.
dictionary at this point.
So in the Scrabble dictionary, though.
Oh, that's where it matters. That's the one with all the clouds.
Wordle.
Scrabble.
I'm just trying to win.
So I think one thing that I was thinking about with your question is how do you actually start a business?
Yes.
Like literally,
Yeah.
I had to Google. Instead of just be an avid.
Google Zoom,
Yes.
I had to Google how to start a business, and it literally brings up 12 different vendors, and you're like, all right, this is a whole thing. Do I go with LegalZoom? Do I go with InkFile?
Mm-hmm.
I went with a friend
Rocket
that started this little one, Rocket Lawyer. I went with this little one called WizForm, and then it pivoted like 2 months later. So then I had to go transfer it. Sorry. Sorry about that. That's a good little
Notice
flipper for
that
you.
it was undisrupted at all because
Good
it was very-
recruiters, you have to talk with your hands if you're a recruiter.
Oh yeah, no, we've been knocking shit over in this room. I'm like, I don't know why we put more in the room, to fill up the background when we
that's
all are
good.
very expressive.
But yeah, so anyways, that's one thing that I was like, all right, how do you actually start a business? Then you are actually legit, and you can start putting together more things on top of that. But what I found is for so many recruiters, and you've done an amazing job of this, we were just talking off record about this, but
We should have been online.
we should have been online. But how do you go from being the technician, the person that can bill and be the recruiter, to then taking that level up to replicating yourself and then doing it again and again to keep growing? That's kind of the stage I'm at, where it's like,
hard.
it's kind of fun. This is the only analogy that's coming to mind, but it's not. This is going to go down.
I'm nervous now.
I'm nervous too. It's not that hard to make a baby, meaning become a parent. It is really hard to be a great parent.
Oh, true.
And so
You can
that's
take
kind of
the
like a
laser off.
business. Like,
Yeah, you can-
it's not that hard to become a parent. I should say it that way, not make a baby. It's not that hard to become a parent.
Shake a bow wow.
Right.
Go on.
We're all here. But it's really hard to be a great parent, just like it's not that hard to start a business. It's really hard to be a great business owner. And it takes constantly learning. And it's funny for me with my son that's 18 months, my business that's 12 months,
That's crazy.
kind of seeing those similarities every day.
Seeing it grow on. Yeah, so what we were talking about offline is that finding that number two
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that one, it's like operates similar to you, but isn't your clone, because one, we're not ecocentric. Really
Yeah.
easily.
We're allocentric.
We're allocentric.
You're going to say it now.
Yeah.
We're allo hire. But also that they have like a business mind, because a business mind and a technician mind is very different. And to switch minds and to have the creativity as well on top of that is really fun.
Well,
It's really hard.
and to add like another level of complexity to that, to be an effective manager, I feel like, because you may not have had the experience ever managing people before, and that, for people that like myself that go to school for it, study it, and have been doing it for over 10 years, like it's like very much like recruiting. People think it's just easy to manage people. It's not. There is a strategy,
Science.
a tactic, a science, being your ability to read people. We all have that in general because we're recruiters, right? But to know what each person needs from you, and then also make sure you show up for your leaders. You forget.
That's
You
a
have to
whole, that's a whole other can of worms.
It really
Because you don't have leaders yet, right?
Yeah,
Like,
no,
actual
I
leaders.
have people that I think have the capacity, like naturally are leaders, but giving them that responsibility on paper in the organization.
On paper.
I'm in that funny stage right now of creating that.
And it's not easy. Everyone's like, I'm going to climb this ladder. Well, it's like, one, also in recruiting, that there is no real ladder, So that's its own separate can of worms. But then it's also like, do you understand what you're getting yourself into? Like, I remember being in, I was in the sales pit for a really long time, and I literally bawled my eyes out. And when I had to put myself into an office and separate myself, because it's like you can't be in it and manage and run a business and then lead and then point, be the bad guy and then become and here's Oprah with all these prizes because you guys have been so great, and
That's literally
hard.
what we do.
I know
Every
it's
day.
hard.
Literally, that's our job description. You
Yeah.
just rattled off the
Thank
job
you.
description. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but it's like, we spend so much time making sure our teams get what they need and that they feel the culture and the morale is up. But it's like, what about your leaders?
Oh.
And I think, I know, at least from observing you, I'm like, she knows that there's certain people that just got it and you can trust in that. And I feel like there has to be a sense of comfort in that I don't have to give them all the pats on the back. There's others that need a little bit more of that. It's like learning, again, what each person needs from you, right? But
the hard part is, I'm going to go back to business owner, is once you trust those people and you're like, you got this, it's almost like you're ignoring them. And
Yeah.
so very often have I had people that I trust with all of my being who are amazing at doing their job and who's got it and literally I can go on vacation for 3 months. And then you realize, wait, they need me too.
Yep.
That's the hard part. And that's at the part I think feel like you're just that cusp of having like a business for a year and a week of just being right there where you're like, I gotta switch gears right now. I have to be a business owner, a CEO. And we also just talked about offline as CEO being this like huge position where we just see ourselves as like, and I see an individual contributor. And that's hard too, because like I'll get in the grind with you, like I'll do all these things, but they expect you to be CEO, which is its own separate beast.
Yeah, there's just two things on that. I've been trying to read more. Not always a recruiter's greatest skill set is slowing down to physically read. So I'll do Audible on like 2x. Probably just I'm so ADD. Yeah. But the book E-Myth, you brought up this. You made this quote come to mind. He said, "If your business depends on you, you don't own a business. You have a job, and it's the worst job in the world." And I actually believe that you can get that like the high and the hype off of the first year or two of being an entrepreneur, and that's so praised on LinkedIn in our culture. And then all of a sudden you're like, it's 11, I'm in bed, I'm on LinkedIn. Like my brain is frazzled and I'm just like trying to hold everything together.
Yeah.
That's the worst job. It's so stressful. You have people relying on you at every aspect of the business. And so, yeah, how do you switch into then being full-fledged owner and your business not depending on you? I think the number 2 hire is so big. And we were just talking like, how do you find that person? Truly.
Yeah, I feel like you breed them. Okay, not really, but you know me.
So offended.
I'm like, mother? Is that what that's called?
Talk about having a baby. I don't know, but no, it's like you want them to like grow within the organization because I feel like to bring in an outsider is bad for the organization in general, and then it's also kind of feels you like it's just too much pressure. I don't know, and honestly. I'm not saying like I've done it right. Like there's a couple missteps I've had for sure, but it's hard. Like I don't know.
Go with your gut. I feel like with you, every time you've hired with your gut, it's like your gut was spot on. How you felt about a person, it was spot on. It really has been. There's been like a couple that I'm like,
I've had little missteps.
Well, I mean, those people also could have been serial killers. I don't really know. That's how fucked up they were. So it's like, give yourself a break on some of those because I'm pretty sure they've got multiple identities. But I definitely think that you're really good at hiring, like going with your gut and knowing even what the red flags are. Like with somebody, regardless of role, I feel like you know what you don't give yourself enough credit.
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I was just talking to a client of ours that was like, there was a lot of yellow flags. I'm like, we're even going to pull the red flag. Like all those things, like, add up. It's like we have pulled that sooner. But anyways, I'm kind of going off on tangents because I feel like we are way over time at this moment because Hudson Brock is bringing some really good shit to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. We're not too terribly over, but I really want to highlight, your firm and all the work that it has taken in this first year. So I saw your celebratory video on LinkedIn. You're really good at that, by the way. All recruiters need to be good at putting their shit on LinkedIn, right? On the reel, on the feed, all that stuff. But, what advice do you really have for anyone that's like, I'm just going to start my own recruiting company? That makes sense. Because not all high-end individual contributors can start that.
That's such a good question. So I think you have to know yourself first. I think good leaders aren't always right. They're real. And that's something I think you've done well. Trusting your gut, but also just sharing your perspective and documenting the story. Like I think on LinkedIn, people really value, it's the Gary Vee thing. Tell me your story. Don't make it scripted. Don't make it perfect. You throw out the analogy of making a baby on a podcast, roll with it. Like there are those things that people really appreciate authenticity, and there's a ton of fake authenticity on social media. Yeah. And LinkedIn, I love it. It's generally very positive. There's a lot of humble bragging. And so I think it's finding that balance of like, how do I tell my story, celebrate the wins, but also probably talk about some of the shortcomings, talk about some of the stuff I'm struggling with, welcome other people into that. That I think is the biggest thing for anyone starting anything. Welcome other people into your story and be humble enough to ask for their expertise.
I love that.
So I would say that's the one thing I've done right. I think a lot of times I wake up and I'm like, I'm so unqualified. Like the business is growing.
Imposter syndrome.
It's so real. Yeah.
It's very real.
It's so real. And I think even sharing that with the team has been good.
Yeah.
Saying, hey guys,
Yeah.
I don't have all the answers. There's a lot of times where I don't even know if I can come up with the answers. I need y'all's input.
Yeah.
And I need to keep seeking wise counsel. And so that, I think that's the core thing that any good founder has to do.
Yeah, I love that. I love them, like you said, bringing them the story. So back in, I think it was December, maybe, I don't know, January, but we had an all hands meeting, and I was like, I got knocked with what I felt was mourning. So as anyone that's followed, like, they know that I sold techies, and like I had that business when I was 24 years old. And most of those people, gives me the chills, I had worked with 7, 8, 10, 9, 10 years.
Yeah.
And so it went from like, we're all working together, and then poof, gone. And I realized, like, I was just rolling with the punches, and I was like, I actually mourned them, and I didn't realize, like, I wasn't on my game, but I didn't realize why. So I shared that in the all hands, that I was mourning, and then all of a sudden I got other people saying, like, I've been mourning my company too, but I was feeling weird about it because I felt like it was disrespectful to Talent Purge at the time to be like, I'm mourning my old company because I'm supposed to be really happy at Talent Purge. And I don't think that that's a false feeling. And so I love that as a leader and as an owner and CEO, that you're sharing like what you feel, because it makes people be like, oh my God, thank God you're a real person.
Human,
You're a human.
Well, and you being self-aware, I feel like that's how you find your number two, is to balance out, like, knowing what, I always say this to Brianna and to the TA team of, like, part of being smart is knowing what you're dumb about, you know? And finding somebody that can balance you out in that regard, I think is critical.
It's a great quote. Never heard a quote like that. Thanks for that.
Put it the Texan way.
Yeah. The one other thing I'd say to welcome people, and I think you've done this really well with YouTube, is you have to give value for free. You have to be willing to give value. And there's so many old school recruiters still, they're so guarded with all their systems.
They're taught to do that.
They're taught to do that. And I think we have to keep breaking that trend, but it's still swimming upstream to say, hey, you might be a competitor. I'm almost positive my Allohire and Techies have competed on contracts, and there's plenty of business for both.
So,
and I think there's plenty of, if we both share our expertise and what we're learning, there's plenty of business for us both to grow. So I think that's just a mentality shift that hopefully is one of the things millennials have done well. I don't know. We've done a lot of things that are just kind of
I want
crazy.
to cut some millennials, but yeah, I got you. 37.
Oh yeah, you're still millennial.
Yeah.
For sure.
Nice. Hudson, thank you so much. Taylor, always thank you so much. So, as you know, that we're every Tuesday, but we're going to do Broke to Boss tip from Hudson today. I know Taylor normally takes it away here, but go ahead, Hudson, what do you got?
Mine's really simple. Wake up early. Morning hours are more productive than night hours. Coffee is more productive than alcohol most of the time. Most of the time. I'm not going to say always. For me, if it's 10 p.m. and I have a drink, I'm not going to get much done. If it's 6 a.m. and I have coffee, I'm going to get a lot done. So just that simple for me. It's really helped. Once you have kids, multiple responsibilities, more people want your time, you have to have the time that is, your calendar is blocked off, no one's bothering you, no notifications, and the morning is really special for that.
Nice. Alone time. We'll need that for sure. Thank you so much. You've been amazing.
Thank you.
So we'll definitely put, how you can contact Hudson. Want to do a quick plug on
Yeah. Hudson Brock on LinkedIn is what I'm most active on. Allohire.com is our agency. And Instagram, I'm not that entertaining.